Nation of Fit in 10, welcome to day 70, the final day of the challenge, if you can believe it. The final day. You think 70 days is long, and it's really not, right? And it's just like I mentioned in the beginning, before you know it, I said before you know it, I will be saying it's day 70. Of course, here we are, our 18th challenge. Scans are happening this weekend. If you can't make the scans, I'm going to ask you one more time, reach out to me. Let's get you in. Let's see how you did. Don't be afraid. As I've mentioned before, most people do better than they think they have. All right. So just come on out and do your scan. Okay. Another question I missed. So I just found this going through my list of questions here. So here we go. Fiber as a carbohydrate. I found a snack that you probably would not approve of. Anyways, it has 130 calories, less than 3 grams of sugar, 17 grams of fiber, and a total of 40 grams carbohydrate. I did some reading, and what I read said that fiber is a form of carbohydrate, but because it's not digested and passes through, you should deduct the fiber grams from the total carb amount. So in my example, I would subtract 70 from 40, and the snack would have 27 grams of carbohydrates. I had not heard of this before. Thoughts? So it depends on the fiber. So if it's insoluble, insoluble is almost 100% going to go right through you, if not 100%. The soluble, that's a little bit different. That's going to count. So I don't know what kind of fiber this is. I'm assuming that it's insoluble, that it just goes right through you. But soluble fiber will count to some degree. Now, it's not the same as a sugar or a starch, for that matter. Starch is just sugar essentially, but generally speaking, what happens is if you go and you look at different soluble fibers, they all have a different calorie amount. And I think it even goes beyond that, because I think that different soluble fibers have a different uptake depending on the person's profile of gut bacteria. So I think this one is actually a really hard one to answer. Generally speaking, like I said, if it's insoluble fiber, yeah, it's going to be totally fine. The other thing I would want to know is, what are the ingredients in it? So it's great when we look at the breakdown of the nutrition, but I want to know what is in there as ingredients. So that would be good to know. This person writes, I'm also struggling with butter versus olive oil. I switched from margarine to butter. Okay, very good. But when cooking, what to use? What I read says that olive oil is better for your heart than butter, but also understand the argument versus natural versus process. Okay, honestly, natural versus process doesn't mean anything. So I understand that we think that natural is better and process is bad, but this isn't always the case. All right. Now, when it comes to butter, there just isn't any evidence of this. All right. The whole saturated argument came from the whole narrative came from Ansel Keys in the 1950s, which did the 7-country study. But he had you can read about it online. But he had I can't remember. It was at least double the amount of countries that he decided to list. And he made a correlation between these 7 countries eating more saturated fat and having higher amounts of heart attack or atherosclerosis. It's been a while since I read the breakdown of what he was stating, but essentially that's what it was. And so he didn't include all the other countries that just didn't fit his correlation. But even if all the countries did fit the correlation, that still doesn't mean that that's what the cause is. So I will just come back and I'll say, okay, I understand that a lot of people repeat this, just like a lot of other things get repeated. But the question is what is the evidence for it? And if I don't see the evidence, I don't know what I can't believe it, right? It's very common that something can get repeated and repeated and repeated, and it just becomes truth because it's just repeated and we hear it all the time. So you just accept it. But it's interesting when you look into things and you look at the reasoning or the data, sometimes it'll open up your eyes. This is one of those cases. So I don't see it. I'm not saying it's It's 100% for sure fine for you, but I don't see any argument that it's bad for you. So, and I guess the one thing that stood out in my mind too when I originally looked into this was the fact that a lot of saturated fat is, we evolved on saturated fat. So the fact that it's killing us or holding us back, I just at least it arose a question in my mind about saturated fat. So show me the data. If you can show me the data, if you can show me mechanistically how it's happening, I'm more than happy to accept it. But I just don't see it. So, but it still gets repeated. It still gets repeated again amongst people who I highly respect too. People in the nutrition field that still say it. But there are others out there who will say exactly what I'm saying. So show me the evidence, and I'll say okay. I'm happy to accept it. I'm not saying I'm God and know everything, because I certainly don't. Okay, so it is the final day, and of course, something that I always say to all my Fit10 members is that this challenge is a big undertaking, and it's really inspired me to perhaps do a Fit10 light challenge, which would be like an introductory to the Fit10, because this challenge is so it's pretty overwhelming, especially the food component of it. And I understand that. And I think it really also depends on who you are and how you're wired and where you're coming from as well. Not to mention your lifestyle, all your other responsibilities. So it's hard to manage a lot of things at once, especially when it's an everyday thing like your nutrition. But I want to encourage you guys to keep going with this. I want to encourage you to be at least always thinking about a couple things. Getting a good source of protein every time you eat, making sure you're eating a variety of real whole foods, including fruits and vegetables, and looking at your portions, all right, and moving on a frequent basis, all right, and hopefully you'll maintain the weight training, because the weight training is a huge thing, especially as we get older. We may not feel this so much when we're younger, but definitely as we get older, this is something that's becoming more and more important. Try to convince my mom of this. She knows, she's convinced. It's just a matter of getting her to do it. So I want to commend you all for doing this, for undertaking this. I know some people, this is your second, even third go at this. And I'm excited to see where all the results end up being. Excited to see, the averages and everything, although the average usually tends to be exactly right at about 18%. So we'll have to see where everybody ends up. But I really want to encourage you guys, if you happen to have not booked your final scan or you don't want to do it, I'm going to really encourage you to do it, okay? Now, when it comes to the exit strategy, basically, you want to look at it, when we're talking about the exit strategy, there's two outcomes here. Basically, if you got 18% and over, you're going to fall in group A. If you got lower than 18%, we're talking fat mass loss here, you fall into group B. So group A, people who got 18% or better, you're going to take your macros and you're going to work backwards. Okay, so you're going to work backwards, and you're going to basically, so you're going to start at week 10 and you're going to follow that for another 3 weeks, then go to week 9, follow that for 3 weeks. I may have said 2 weeks. Just follow what your exit strategy says. And so you're going to follow this all the way out. I think it's 3 weeks, and 2 weeks seems a bit short. And so what you have is essentially a 30 week plan, really. Okay, you could actually even go slower. The slower with the macros, the better off you'll be, to a certain degree. All right, when it comes to being in the group B, so you got less than 18% fat loss, we're going to have you start at week 5, and again, we're going to go every 3 weeks. We're going to go week 5, and then week 6, and then week 7. So every 3 weeks, we're going to keep cutting back down those macros. And again, I'm going to encourage you to eat always real whole foods. It's not so much even just that real whole foods are quote, more nutrient dense and more filling and this type of thing, but also that the amount of nutrients that are in them are exactly what they should be, generally speaking, okay, with maybe the exception of vitamins and minerals. When it comes to the amount of macronutrients in them, they're going to be accurate. Okay, when it comes to food that's coming in a box or a bag or whatever it can, nah, it's allowed to be within 20%, right? So there's less accuracy there. But ultimately, the most important thing here is looking at our portions, thinking real whole food, getting a protein source every meal, and thinking nutrient-dense food. If you're getting real whole food, then chances are it's going to be nutrient-dense food, okay? But I want to just say again here that I am super, super proud of you, regardless of how you did in this, because it does take a lot of courage and it does take a lot of commitment. Even though the 70 days do go by fast, but it's an everyday thing. And for me, yeah, I've been doing this. I weigh my food, everything, but it's just who I am. So it's very easy for me. And it's been entrenched in my life for so long. So it's easy for me, and believe me, I really know the benefits, especially when it comes to not just the diet, but even the weight training aspect. And so this is something that I really want to share with people. And of course, Fitin10 gave me this opportunity to do that. What else do I want to say? Did I explain the exit strategy okay? I mean, you got it on paper, right? So listen, if you don't want to follow your macros, then, at least go by some of the rules that I suggested. All right, it's going to make a big difference. Also, for those of you who have a sedentary job where you're seated all throughout the day, get up and move. I cannot tell you, even when I sit in this desk for an hour, and I don't really sit in the day, I try to stand up and move around. I sit in this chair for an hour, 45 minutes, and I get up, I'm like, man, I can feel my back. Like, it's crazy. I don't normally feel my back. So, just consider that as well. Get up and move about, not just for your back, but the sake of your mental health, the sake of your physical health, the sake for just getting up and moving and creating more blood flow through your body. Okay, movement creates more blood flow in the body, so it's easier on the heart as well. All right, okay, I think I've said enough because I'm at 12 minutes. Thank you for joining me on another Fitin10, and maybe I will see you in the future. Hopefully I do. And this Wednesday, July 6th, we've got an in the gym in person finale. So please come on out at 6 p.m. I hope to see you there. And as always, positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, give some gratitude. And I cannot forget the message of the day, of course, which I almost did. So let's just quickly do this, because this is, I think I saved my favorite message of the day. Favorite message of the day on this day 70 is, don't forget, you can start late, you can start over, you can be unsure, you can act differently, you can try and fail and try and fail and try and fail and try and fail, and you can go through that many iterations. But after all that, you can still succeed, okay? Don't forget, you can start late, you can start over, you can be unsure, you can act differently, you can try and fail, and you can still succeed. You can still succeed. After all of that, after everything, you can still succeed. There is a solution to everything. There's a solution to everything. It's just a matter of the act of keeping and trying, right? So do not get discouraged. Set your eyes on what's important to you and never give up on that, all right? Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I will see you all soon. Hopefully. See you guys.